October 14, 1943. 25,000 feet above Germany. Staff Sergeant Michael Romano is crammed into the tail of a B-17 flying fortress, a space so tight he can barely shift his weight. The cold bites through every layer. His oxygen mask fogs with each breath. His gloved hands grip twin .50 caliber machine guns, each one heavy, stubborn, and unforgiving. Through a small plexiglass window he spots it. A German Focke-Wulf 190. It's sliding into position behind them. 6 o'clock. Oh, the worst possible angle. Romano leans forward, squinting through a simple ring and bead sight, two small metal pieces that offer almost no help at these speeds. There's no computer, no guidance, no calculation. Just instinct. Two aircraft closing at over 500 miles per hour. He fires. Bright tracer rounds streak into the sky, but they lag behind the target, trailing uselessly. The German fighter doesn't miss. Its cannons flash. Explosive shells rip into the bomber's aluminum skin like paper. The aircraft shudders violently. Somewhere forward, someone is screaming. This isn't a rare moment. It's happening again and again. That same day, nearly 300 American bombers pushed deep into German territory without fighter escort. By nightfall, dozens won't return. Hundreds of airmen will be gone. The math is brutal. At this rate, survival isn't a matter of skill, it's luck. And luck is running out. Back in England, commanders study the numbers. Something is wrong. The B-17 was designed to defend itself, a flying fortress covered in guns. The idea was simple. Overlapping firepower would keep enemy fighters away. But reality tells a different story. Tail gunners, the last line of defense, are barely hitting anything. In controlled training, the best manage modest accuracy. In combat, under stress and freezing conditions, that accuracy drops even further. Enemy pilots have figured it out. They attack from the rear. They take a few seconds of scattered return fire. Then they strike hard and disappear. Again and again. Losses keep climbing. Some officers begin to question the entire strategy of daylight bombing. Without a solution, the mission itself could collapse. Michael Romano arrives in England just weeks earlier. He's not an engineer. He's not a prodigy. He's a factory worker from Pittsburgh who left school early and learned by doing, fixing machines, working steel, figuring things out the hard way. The army trained him quickly, just enough to operate the guns and survive. Barely. His position in the aircraft is brutal. He kneels on a narrow seat. His feet brace against metal framing. The guns are heavy, difficult to control, and mounted in a limited arc. And the sight? Primitive. To hit a fast-moving fighter, Romano must guess everything: distance, speed, direction, while freezing, exhausted, and under fire. There's no margin for error. An error is constant. On his first mission, Romano fires hundreds of rounds at attacking fighters. He believes he's hitting them. Later, gun camera footage proves otherwise. Every shot missed. The fighters destroy aircraft in his formation. He watches them burn. After each mission, he replays it in his mind. What went wrong? Why can't he hit them? After his third mission, something changes. He stays behind on the airfield, staring at his guns long after everyone else leaves. His hands shake, not from fear but from strain. Then, slowly he begins to realize. The problem isn't just the weapon. It's how he's aiming. He's chasing targets he can't properly track. Firing at where he thinks they'll be, without feedback, without correction. He's fighting blind. That night, in the dim light of a flashlight, Romano climbs back into the tail section. The aircraft still smells like smoke and oil. He studies the plexiglass window. Then he notices something strange. His reflection. Faint, curved, but visible. And in that reflection he can see angles behind him that the sight doesn't cover. He pauses. Thinks. Then grabs his logbook. He starts sketching. What if he could see more? What if he could track not just the enemy, but his own fire? What if he could adjust in real time? He begins drawing a system using small mirrors, positioned carefully to expand his field of view. Then another idea forms. A reflector sight. Not the crude metal ring, but a glass sight with a projected aiming point. Something that lets him track smoothly. Combine that with mirrors, and suddenly he could see both the target and where his bullets are going. Not perfectly, but better. Much better. There's a problem. Actually, several. His idea breaks regulations. Unauthorized modifications to weapon systems are strictly forbidden. Doing it anyway could mean serious punishment. But Romano has already seen what happens if nothing changes. So he keeps going. He finds help in an unexpected place. A maintenance sergeant named Frank Kellerman. Older. Experienced. Practical. Romano shows him the sketches. Kellerman studies them carefully. Then says, "This isn't allowed." Romano nods. He knows. There's a pause. Then Kellerman asks, "When do you fly next?" "Tomorrow." Kellerman exhales. "Then we don't have much time." That night they work in secret, using scrap parts, broken equipment, anything they can find. They salvage mirrors from damaged instruments, cut plexiglass from wrecked sections, build mounts from spare metal. The most important piece, a reflector sight, comes from a wrecked fighter aircraft. They adapt it, force it to fit. Nothing about it looks official, but it might work. Before dawn they install it. Quietly. No paperwork. No approval. Just bolts, wire, and determination. By morning the aircraft looks normal, except for the tail. Romano says nothing during briefing. No one inspects his station. They take off. Hours later, over enemy territory, it happens again. A German fighter lines up behind them, closing fast. Romano grips the guns. But this time, he sees differently. The glowing reticle sits over the target. In the mirrors he sees his gun alignment. He fires. The tracers show him he's behind. So he adjusts. Fires again. This time, the rounds connect. The fighter erupts in smoke and spirals away. Gone. Romano stares in disbelief. It worked. But the moment doesn't last. Because when they land, someone notices. And trouble is coming. The celebration lasts less than half an hour. At first it's just quiet excitement. A few crew members slap Romano on the back. Someone mentions the burning fighter they saw drop out of the sky. For a brief moment it feels like a turning point. Then the crew chief sees it. The tail section. The mirrors. The modified mount. The foreign-looking sight bolted into place. Everything stops. Within minutes, word reaches the squadron armament officer. Captain Richard Voss arrives fast, clipboard in hand, his expression already set. "Sergeant Romano," he says sharply, "explain what I'm looking at." Romano stands straight. "Sir, it's a modified sighting system." Voss steps closer, examining the setup with visible irritation. "You modified a combat weapon," he says. "Without authorization." "Yes, sir." "You're aware that violates multiple regulations?" "Yes, sir." Voss's voice tightens. "This isn't a workshop experiment. This is a military aircraft. Unauthorized changes can create structural risks, interfere with operations, or worse." Romano doesn't argue. But he doesn't back down either. "Sir, it works." Voss doesn't even pause. "I don't care if it works," he snaps. "It's not approved." It comes off immediately. Romano's pilot, Lieutenant Holbrook, steps in. "Captain, with respect, he got a confirmed kill today. We've been struggling for weeks. Maybe we should at least." "Lieutenant," Voss cuts him off, "this is not a debate. The order stands. Remove it, or face consequences." By evening the entire base knows. The story spreads fast. An illegal modification built from scrap that just brought down a German fighter. Among the gunners, curiosity explodes. They crowd around Romano during mess. How does it track? Can you adjust it mid-flight? Does it hold steady at speed? Some are skeptical. Most aren't. Because they've all faced the same problem. And they all know the current system isn't working. But on the officer side the reaction is different. Concern. Frustration. Resistance. That night a meeting is called. 14 officers gather in a briefing room, tension already thick. Captain Morrison, assistant armament officer, opens the discussion. "We have a serious issue," he begins. "An enlisted man has modified defensive armament without approval, using unverified components. This sets a dangerous precedent." A few nod. Then Major William Calhoun, operations officer, speaks up. "With respect, sir, the dangerous precedent is losing aircraft every week." The room shifts. Calhoun continues, steady but firm. "Our tail gunners are barely hitting anything. This sergeant just proved there might be a better way." Morrison shakes his head. "One incident doesn't prove reliability. We don't have proper testing, safety validation." "Then test it," Calhoun interrupts. Silence. "Put him back up," Calhoun says. "Record everything. If it fails, we remove it. If it works, we adapt." The room breaks into argument. Some officers side with Morrison. Rules exist for a reason. Others side with Calhoun. The losses are too high to ignore results. Voices rise. Data versus discipline. Survival versus structure. The debate reaches Colonel Stanley Ray, commanding officer. Experienced, calm, not easily swayed. He listens to both sides without interruption. Then he asks a simple question. How many aircraft did we lose last week? No one answers at first. Then quietly. 17, sir. And confirmed enemy fighters destroyed? 3. Ray nods slowly. 17 aircraft. Hundreds of men. 3 enemy losses. He looks around the room. That's not sustainable. No one argues. Ray turns to Romano. Sergeant, you'll keep your modification installed. A few officers stiffen. You'll fly the next missions with gun cameras recording everything, Ray continues. If your accuracy improves, we expand it. If not, it's removed and we revisit this conversation. Romano nods. Yes, sir. Ray stands. Meeting adjourned. The next mission comes quickly. No one says much before takeoff. But now everyone is watching. October 12, 1943. Target, Bremen. Hundreds of bombers cross into enemy airspace. Enemy fighters rise to meet them. The sky fills with motion. At 11:23 a.m., the first attack begins. A Focke-Wulf 190 dives from above. Romano tracks it. This time there's no hesitation. The reticle moves smoothly across his vision. In the mirrors he sees the alignment of his guns. He fires. The tracers show he's slightly off. He adjusts, instantly. Fires again. The rounds hit. The fighter's wing bursts into flame. It breaks away trailing smoke. Minutes later. Another attack. Directly from behind. The classic approach. A Bf-109 closes in. Romano centers the sight. Checks his alignment. Fires. The cockpit canopy shatters. The fighter flips and dives away. Everything is captured. Every shot. Every correction. Every hit. When they land, the footage is reviewed immediately. Frame by frame. No assumptions. Just evidence. The results are undeniable. Romano isn't guessing anymore. He's adjusting in real time. Tracking both target and fire path simultaneously. Something the old system simply couldn't do. Even Captain Morrison can't ignore it. He watches the footage again. And again. Finally he speaks. It works. No excitement. Just acceptance. But there's still a problem. Scaling it. We need proper designs, Morrison says. Standard parts. Controlled installation. This can't be improvised forever. Colonel Ray nods. How long? Several weeks. Minimum. Ray doesn't hesitate. We don't have several weeks. He turns to Kellerman. How fast can you build these? Kellerman thinks for a moment. With help, a few per day. Then start. What follows isn't official. It isn't clean. But it's effective. In the maintenance hangar, a quiet operation begins. Scrap materials are gathered. Damaged equipment repurposed. Working reflector sights pulled from wrecked aircraft. Metal shaped by hand. Each unit slightly different, but built on the same principle. They work long hours. No spotlight. No recognition. Just urgency. Within days, multiple aircraft are equipped. Then more. Then more. And the results? They come fast. Enemy fighters approach the same way they always have. From the rear. Expecting the same weak response. But something has changed. This time. They're met with accurate fire. Sustained. Controlled. Dangerous. Pilots who once attacked with confidence now break off early. Some don't break off at all. Mission reports begin to shift. More enemy fighters destroyed. Fewer bombers lost from rear attacks. The numbers start to move. Not slightly. Significantly. The same vulnerable angle, the 6 o'clock position, is no longer safe. And far above the clouds, the balance begins to change. But not everyone is ready for what comes next. Because now the innovation can't stay hidden. And once higher command gets involved, everything is about to escalate. The change is impossible to ignore. Within weeks, more and more B-17 crews begin flying with versions of Romano's mirror-assisted sight. Each one is slightly different, hand-built, adapted, improvised, but the core idea remains the same. See the target. See your fire. Adjust instantly. And it works. Mission reports start telling a new story. On an October strike, tail gunners equipped with the modified system engage dozens of attacking fighters. This time they don't just fire. They hit. Enemy aircraft break apart mid-attack. Others peel away early, unwilling to fly straight into accurate defensive fire. For the first time in months, the numbers begin to shift in favor of the bombers. Hit rates climb dramatically. Rear attacks become riskier. And survival, once based mostly on luck, starts to feel just a little more controlled. German pilots noticed the difference almost immediately. They had studied the B-17's weaknesses carefully. The rear approach had always been the safest option. Predictable, manageable, effective. Now it isn't. After-action reports from the Luftwaffe begin to mention something unusual. American tail gunners are no longer missing. They are adjusting, tracking, hitting with precision that wasn't there before. One German pilot writes in his combat notes that attacking from behind now carries unacceptable risk. That single sentence says everything. Back in England, higher command takes notice. At 8th Air Force Headquarters, reports arrive describing improved defensive performance across multiple bomb groups. At first it seems like an anomaly. Then the pattern becomes clear. Something has changed and it's spreading. In mid-November, a senior commander arrives unannounced at the airfield. Brigadier General Frederick Castle. He doesn't ask for a presentation. He goes straight to the aircraft, climbs into the tail section himself, studies the setup closely. The mirrors, the mounting brackets, the reflector sight. It's simple, rough in places, but intentional. Then he reviews the gun camera footage. Engagement after engagement. Clear tracking. Controlled bursts. Visible corrections mid-fire. It's real hits. Finally he sits down with Romano. "Did you know this would work?" the general asks. Romano shakes his head. "No, sir. I just knew the old way didn't." There's a brief pause. Then the general smiles slightly. "That's honest." After inspecting everything, Castle makes a decision. Not weeks from now. Not after endless paperwork. No. He authorizes immediate expansion of the system across his command. Every available aircraft will be equipped as quickly as possible. No delay. No hesitation. What began as a rule-breaking experiment is now becoming standard practice. By December 1943, hundreds of bombers carry versions of Romano's idea. At the same time, engineers begin formal studies. They refine the concept, standardize the design, prepare it for large-scale production. At Boeing's modification centers, new tail turret systems are already in development. When engineers review the field reports, they notice something striking. The positioning of the reflector sight. The concept of improved visibility. The importance of real-time correction. Elements of Romano's improvised design begin to appear, quietly, inside official engineering plans. The next generation of B-17 tail turrets will include advanced reflector sights, built properly, tested fully, and installed at scale. But the idea? It didn't start in a lab. It started in the back of a freezing bomber with a flashlight and a sketch. The battlefield impact becomes measurable. Over the following months, bombers equipped with improved tail sights experienced significantly fewer losses from rear attacks. Not a small difference. A meaningful one. Entire crews, men who statistically would not have returned, make it home. Again and again. Romano keeps flying. Mission after mission. The danger doesn't disappear. Flak still tears through the sky. Fighters still attack. But now he fights back with a system that gives him a real chance. By early 1944 his record stands out. Multiple confirmed enemy aircraft destroyed. Unusual for a tail gunner. But numbers were never his goal. Survival was. Then comes February. A massive series of operations aimed at crippling enemy production. The skies are crowded. The defense is intense. During one mission, Romano's aircraft takes heavy damage. Flak bursts close. Shrapnel cuts through the tail section. Fluid sprays across the interior. Systems begin to fail. Still he stays on the guns. Tracking. Firing. Holding the line as long as he can. The aircraft barely makes it out. It crash lands in occupied territory. The crew survives the impact. But they are captured. Romano's war isn't over. It just changes. He spends the remaining months as a prisoner. Far from the aircraft. Far from the sky. Waiting. When the war finally ends, he returns home. Thinner. Quieter. Like many others. He receives recognition for his service. A medal for his actions in the air. And mention of his contribution to improving defensive systems. But the full story? It doesn't spread widely. He doesn't chase attention. Doesn't seek interviews. Doesn't try to tell the world what he did. When invited to speak with engineers working on new aircraft systems, he declines. "I just made what I needed," he says simply. He goes back to civilian life. Works with machines again. Builds a family. Lives quietly. Years pass. Decades. The war becomes history. But the impact of that one idea continues. Improved tail gun systems become standard. Not just on B-17s, but on later aircraft as well. The principle remains the same. Give the operator clear information. Let them adjust in real time. It's a simple idea. But in combat, simple can mean everything. In the 1980s, veterans gather for a reunion at the old airfield. Time has changed them. But the memories remain sharp. One former gunner brings something with him. A small, worn piece of metal. A mirror bracket. Saved for decades. He finds Romano, hands it to him, and says quietly, "Because of this, I made it home." Romano doesn't know what to say, so he shrugs slightly. "You would have done the same," he replies. But that isn't true. Many face the same problem. The same danger. The same broken system. Only one decided to change it. Michael Romano passes away in 2003. His story is not widely known. Not written in large headlines. Not often taught. But the numbers tell the truth. Hundreds of aircraft saved. Thousands of lives changed. All because one person refused to accept that nothing could be done. In war, courage is often seen in action. In fire. In risk. But sometimes, courage looks like a quiet decision. To fix something broken. Even when you're told not to. And sometimes that decision echoes far beyond a single moment. All the way through history.